I now recognize Mr. Snyder from Illinois for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not going to make it any easier on you, Ambassador, but I will pick up on what Ms. Fischbach and Schweikert before said. Ambassador Greer, yes or no, didn't Israel zero out all tariffs on U.S. products before President Trump announced his across-the-board tariffs on April 2nd?
They indicate they're willing.
Just yes or no?
They did not do it yet. They announced they wanted to.
They announced it, but yet President still imposed 17% tariffs on Israel. Ambassador Greer, what's our trade balance with the elephant and fur seals, petrels, albatrosses, and penguins living unheard in McDonald Islands?
They're part of Australia's customs union.
But they're separate, and I'm going to reclaim my time. The president has imposed specific tariffs on herd and McDonald's Islands while not taking any action against Russia, Belarus, North Korea, or Cuba. And I don't want to disappoint my mom and my wife or have them yell at me, but Mr. Greer, I'm going to say what I think almost everyone is thinking. WTF? What's the president thinking? What did he and you think was going to happen after unilaterally declaring a global trade war? Did you expect the so-called Liberation Day to become Liquidation Week, destroying more than $10 trillion of value and moving us from an extended bull market into a self-induced bear? Did you intentionally plan to decimate Americans' retirement accounts and 529 accounts for their kids' education? Did you and the president anticipate raising prices for American families already struggling to make ends meet? Did you mean to make American businesses less, not more competitive in global markets? Was the intention, with the largest tax increase in U.S. history, to put the United States and maybe the entire global economy into a recession because of what Wall Street Journal editorial board, let me repeat this, it was the Wall Street Journal editorial board said is the dumbest trade war in history. Already, Diane Swank, the chief economist at KPMG, is saying that her baseline forecast is a recession starting this quarter. Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan have raised their probability of recession to 79%. The Wall Street Journal reports the betting markets have it at 70%, and Goldman Sachs recently again raised their likelihood the second time since this trade war started to 45%, and I expect that will rise again. Indeed, by the time you have finished this hearing, I wouldn't be surprised if we already were in a recession. Less than a week after President Trump's declaration of, again, the largest sales tax in U.S. history, global markets continue to roil as a result of tariff-based recession fears. The president's newly imposed tariffs have real-world impacts on every one of my constituents who will see higher prices at the grocery store, shortages of critical products, and less money in their retirement accounts and the accounts for their kids' education. American families deserve relief, but instead, thanks to President Trump and you, they're heading to the store to panic buy essentials before retailers raise their prices. I've heard from literally thousands of constituents about the pain that President Trump has said this country will suffer as a result of these tariffs. They have written to me sharing that they have lost as much as 20% of their 401k and 529 accounts in the last week alone due to market fluctuations that are responding in real time to the president's announcements of arbitrary and capricious tariffs. Seniors who recently retired are worried about having to return to work to make sure they can make ends meet, and today wonder if they will now outlive their retirement savings. Small business owners are worried about laying off employees. Large companies in my district are preparing their next earnings report for investors and telling me that the impacts of these tariffs are material. That's business speak, for the tariffs are going to have a real adverse effect on their operations and likely adverse effect on their cash flows. Make no mistake, President Trump's trade agenda is slowing economic growth and job creation, weakening U.S. global leadership, and increasing the cost of doing business in the United States. These tariffs make life for Americans more expensive, make our nation less secure, and our citizens less prosperous. Congress must take back its constitutional authority to stop the chaos and the pain President Trump is inflicting on American families and dig us out of what could be a self-inflicted recession. Before I ask a question with my limited time, I ask unanimous consent to submit into the record the CIA World Factbook entry for Heard Island and McDonald Island.
Without objection.
I also ask unanimous consent to submit for the record an article from Scientific American, The Heard and McDonald Islands Are Pristine Biological Wonderland. The subtitle of the article is Trump's Tariffs Put a Spotlight on the Uninhabited Heard and McDonald Islands, which comprise a remote volcanic refuge for penguins and seals and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This just once again illustrates that these tariffs are not strategic, they are not targeted, they are arbitrary and capricious and hurting our economy and our American citizens. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ambassador. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for your service. I saw that you were a missionary and you were a veteran and you had a big job at a law firm and now you're here serving the government. You helped negotiate the USMCA. Did you think the USMCA was a good deal for America?
I think it was. There was a lot more we could have done and should have done.
So why did the president come out after this year and say it was one of the worst deals we ever negotiated in the history of the country?
I think it's frustrating that here we are 5 years later and steel imports from Mexico shot up, car imports from Mexico shot up.
Well, you think it was a good deal, but he thinks it was a terrible deal. I mean, I feel like you're in a very bad position here. This whole idea that this president made this switcheroo on you while you were in the middle of testifying here today. I actually feel bad for you.
No,
but I really feel bad for the American people that are seeing these things happen. There's no plan. I mean, that's my big concern. I know there's goals. I want to see manufacturing brought back to America, or at least I want to see jobs that pay more money so we can rebuild our middle class in America. I'm for that. I'm for holding China accountable and holding our adversaries accountable. I'm for tariffs in select specific places. But right now, all we know is prices are going up, we're pissing off our allies, and the stock market went down dramatically. It's gone up dramatically today. The market manipulation question by Mr. Horsford is a very real concern that we're gonna have to dig into a little bit. Who's benefiting from these wild fluctuations down, wild fluctuation up? We're still way down. We need a plan to accomplish the objectives that I know that you genuinely believe in, which is to try and recreate the middle class here in the United States of America, that on my side of the aisle, we all believe in that. We have to recreate the middle class in America. Do you think we should increase the minimum wage in America?
I think we need to create jobs that naturally have high wages.
The minimum wage in 20 states is $7.25 an hour. Do you think we should increase the minimum wage?
I mean, I think the states should be managing that kind of thing. I think we need better manufacturing
So
jobs that are
20 states,
$30, $40, $50
20 states
an hour.
rely on the federal minimum wage. It's still $7.25 an hour. So you don't think we should increase it at the federal level?
Well, you'll have to talk to the Secretary of Labor on that. That's
Do you think
way
we should
outside
have the
wheelhouse.
PRO Act to promote unions in America? Because that will help to recreate the middle class.
And I'd refer you to Secretary Chavez DeRemer. She's much better placed.
Do you like the CHIPS Act that to reshore the manufacturing of semiconductors here in the United States of America, a national industrial policy where we invest in creating factories with high-skilled, high-wage jobs in America? Do you support the CHIPS Act?
So notionally, I agree that we should have industrial policy to help with chips and other things, right? You know, whether the CHIPS Act was the perfect way to do it, I don't know. But
So my big concern is that, we want to do these things. You and I share the same goals, but there's no plan right now. As we saw, there's been devastation from this unilateral action by the president where he treats our allies and our strategic adversaries the same, with the exception of China. We know that China's, and I'm all for that. I actually have a bill that I sponsored to get rid of most favored trade nation for China. So, but why are we treating our allies? Why are we treating Japan and Korea and Australia, who have been our bulwarks against China in the Indo-Pacific? And Vietnam, even though they don't share our philosophy, they're sick of China as well. And we were building a relationship with them to help us be a bulwark against China. Why are we treating our allies in the Indo-Pacific, who are our main allies against China, the same as we're treating our adversaries?
We aren't treating them the same. They have substantially lower tariffs than
I know,
China.
but we just
Substantially.
really
They're
kind of
completely
bombarded them. I mean, it's the same as USMCA. We negotiated a bipartisan trade agreement that everybody agreed upon, that the president praised as being the best deal ever, and now he pulls the rug, like he pulled the rugs out from under you today. He pulled the rug out from under Canada and Mexico. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's no plan. Do you think that there's a plan, and can you share the plan with us?
Certainly. Listen, I'm very confident in the president's policy. Goods that meet USMCA rules come in duty-free. So when the president comes out and he says, we're going to have a tariff to make sure we're treated the same, that we can get rid of these deficits, we have a baseline 10% to make sure that we don't have Swiss cheese in this program, and then we have higher tariffs on those who are the worst offenders. That's why you end up in
the president put in place
the
president put in place these high tariffs, but today he just yanked them out. Is that part of the plan? Was that always part of the plan?
Well, they're paused. The reality is a lot of these countries have come to us and they said, we understand American leadership, we understand what you're trying to do, we want to have reciprocal trade with you. China has taken a different choice, and so they're on a different path. Our Western Hemisphere countries, they all have the lowest rate. They have a 10% rate, right? The UK, Australia, they have a 10% rate. These are all the lowest. The big issues are in Asia, where we saw the offshoring, and China is in a category all by itself.
Okay, thank you, Ambassador. Appreciate your time today. I'm very concerned there's no plan, and this is being done kind of willy-nilly at the last minute by the president, out of his head. It doesn't really make sense to us. It'd be great if we knew what the plan was and it was shared to us by the administration, and even if it was done in a way for our committee, that we can at least know what's happening. We have a lot of the same goals, but right now, prices are going up, our allies are very upset, and the stock market is on fire. Thank you.